but not maybe all of them.
So, but we still have some people.
I'm a pretty loud speaker, so you should be okay. But honestly, if you can't hear me, just let me know to speak up. I'm not shy about being loud.
And I'm a former middle school teacher, so
So you're really used to being loud.
But like I said, we'll wait just a couple more minutes till people kind of trickle in, because I know parking was a little bit of an issue. So you may go ahead and talk among yourselves, and I will call us to order in 2 or 3 minutes here.
Who's frying bacon?
Yeah.
I'm chill. I just got done swimming. I love these people who are in the school.
Hi, Ann.
I was at the dermatologist like a few months back, and I said I had been swimming at the wealthy pool. He goes, where do people like me go swimming? He's a doctor, right? I go, oh, he was just making a joke. The wealthy pool, where do other people go? I swam there a long time ago when I was living in Crystal Springs with my parents, but so it's not silver sneakers though, right? It's not like the. Any other options? No. Neither. Oh,
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone this morning, and if you just walked in, we had some trouble with the sound system due to the shutdown, the power outage on Sunday. So when everything shut off like that, sometimes when you reboot it, it's not where you want it to be. So if you have trouble hearing, feel free to move closer to the front. We'll all try to use loud voices today. And as I just mentioned, I'm a mother of 3 sons, a camp counselor, and a middle school teacher. So if you need me louder, just, thumbs up, and I can get as loud as you need it. You probably don't want us to know as loud as I can get, but.
And helpful that we're having this today so that we can get it figured out for Sunday. So that they didn't come in Sunday morning and say, oh no. So this is a helpful day to find out.
So I want to welcome you that are here with us in person, those that have joined us on live stream. Jen Porter, our staff person who's back with us this month. Last month, we still had to pivot some. And our guest presenter this morning, Troy Baker, and I'll introduce him a little bit more in just a minute. But first, I'd just like to start with a word of prayer to acknowledge God's presence in this place. Pray with me. Lord, thank you for the promise that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together, you are here. Thank you for every seat that has been filled here, for each mind and heart that fills the presence of this room. And also thank you for those who have joined us virtually with their presence as well. We come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this time together. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, the committee suggested that we have someone come and talk on scams. And so doing a little Google and internet research, I found Troy. And Troy Baker is the Educational Foundation Director with the Better Business Bureau of West Michigan. And I sent him an email, and like 5 minutes later, I had a response. Yes, I'd love to talk to your group. And since we engaged Troy as our speaker today, There's even been more alerts on the news and media, and now even with Ukraine, things about scams that we need to know. So I'm going to let Troy tell you a little bit more about the Better Business Bureau, because to be honest, all I know is that there's a BBB. And I don't know a lot about what they do in the community now, but I do know that they kind of screen so that they are a resource for what businesses, brands, and charities we can trust. So I will let it turn over to Troy, and then we will have time for questions and answers however he feels comfortable, either during the presentation or after. So let's welcome Troy today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Troy Baker. I'm the director of the Better Business Bureau Educational Foundation. I have with me my colleague, Casey Lawler, who's our digital marketing specialist. And she's training to do this presentation so that we can continue to do this in a lot of organizations. This is a presentation we do part of our Fighting Financial Fraud series that we do for groups a lot like yours. A lot of senior type groups because we know that seniors are one of the most impacted groups when it comes to scams. We'll come to the next slide here. There we go. So our objective, educate the public on common tactics used by scammers to help them avoid fraud and give them the tools to help educate others. We want to give you the resources so that you can spot these scams before you fall victim to it. And there are some commonalities between a lot of scams. If you know some of these red flags, you'll be able to spot the scam no matter what language they use. So that's what we're going to go over today, are some of those tactics that scammers use that if you know what to watch for, you'll be able to help avoid getting ripped off. Before I start getting into that, I want to show you some of the examples that we've had right here in West Michigan. Because a lot of times you hear about scams and you don't really realize how much it's impacting right here. You look at some of these dollar amounts, $134,000 in a romance scam in Howard City. $134,000. That's your entire life savings and then some. That's selling your house and giving it to somebody. $107,000 investment scam in Walker, a timeshare scam in Muskegon. These are scams that are happening right here in our community every day. So it's critical that we warn you what to avoid. And before we go on, I want to give you a word of warning. Karen talked about questions, and I'm going to take questions at the end. And if you feel like sharing in the group setting, fantastic. I'm sure your question is probably on the minds of somebody else too. But if you're not comfortable sharing in the group setting, I will be here afterwards. Pull me aside, we can have a conversation. I did this presentation up in Kalkaska this last year, and a woman at the end came up and was caught up in a romance scam. And her son had told her for weeks that this was a romance scam, you're getting scammed, it's a scam, and she wouldn't believe him. It wasn't until this presentation that it finally clicked that this relationship was not real. And I really feel for her and everybody in that situation because it's such an emotional thing. And it's not always something you want to share in a public setting. So if you are comfortable sharing at the end, please do. But realize I'm here to talk with afterwards, and I'll be here as long as we need to get it taken care of. So there's not a rush. All right? So how big is the problem overall? A $50 billion impact on our marketplace. Numbers from the Federal Trade Commission from last year show that people lost more than $9 billion directly to scams. That's money directly lost. But once you take into account everything else that comes with scams, loss of trust in the marketplace, people get scammed and then they don't trust the real businesses. That has an impact on our market. Things like the time you waste. And all that time not only dealing with the scam, but dealing with fixing it afterwards. People who lose their identity, give their social security number to scammers, are going to spend weeks and months dealing with that. Talking to Social Security. Anybody try to get them on the phone lately? Right? That's going to take forever in time. And that's a huge cost to our economy. So again, along with the dollar amount, there's so many other ways that this affects people. And that's why it's so important that we warn you what to avoid. So a little bit about the Better Business Bureau, because as Karen says, a lot of you know of the Better Business Bureau, but you might not know all the things that we do. We're a nonprofit organization. We're not a government organization. We're a nonprofit organization that was founded more than 100 years ago by good business owners that were sick of shady business owners ripping people off. They wanted to create an independent organization to set standards for businesses and enforce those standards. And we've been doing that for more than 100 years with our set of standards based on trust and ethics. Today, there are nearly 100 locations in the US. The BBB serving Western Michigan covers the entire west side of the Lower Peninsula and part of the top there of the Lower Peninsula. Everything shaded in blue there. So we want to find good, trustworthy businesses that treat you as consumers the right way. If you find a business that has our accredited business seal, that's a business that we have vetted. They come to us, we vet them, they promise to uphold our standards, and we hold them to that. They meet our standards and will continue to do that. And if they don't, we kick them out. And we have a review process every year. They have to renew. And we go back and we look. And we look at the complaints. We look at the reviews. We look at how they interact with people and whether that's the right way or not. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. But we do the best we can to find those businesses that are going to be ethical and honest with you. And that is why we want to provide this service to you so you know what to look for so that you don't end up being ripped off. So how do we do that? Before the internet, you could call the BBB, and you still can. We still have a phone number. It's on the handout that we gave you. You can email us. The biggest way people find us now is through the internet at bbb.org, an entire database full of businesses. If every business gets a letter grade like we would get in school, A+ through F, based on a whole range of features, it goes into an algorithm and it puts out the number of what your letter grade is. Most people know us for complaint resolution. If you have a problem with a business and you can't get it resolved, you can file a complaint with our office. We work with the consumer and the business to find a resolution, and we can usually get it worked out anywhere between 75 and 85% of the time. We do educational programs like this, and we have our scam tracker, bbb.org/scam tracker. It tracks scams, and people can report scams and see what else is being reported in their area. It's a great resource. If you need to get a hold of us to report a scam, you can do it online or you can call our office. We have people that answer the phones. A lot of people are still working from home, so you might have to leave a message, but somebody will call you back and take that information. We are here as a resource for you to be wise, informed consumers. So, we want to help you spot the signs of scams today. So we're going to go over some of the things. Next slide there. So the impact. More than 80% of people each year will be solicited by potentially fraudulent offers. Probably well more, but the data that we have, because most people don't report scams, is that 80% number. Next. 1 in 5 will lose money each year. Again, significantly less report. Scams are not reported in large numbers for a couple reasons. One, embarrassment. People are embarrassed they lost money. They don't want to say anything about it. And the other thing is people feel like it doesn't make a difference. I can tell you it does make a difference. We work to shut down scams, and we work with law enforcement all the time. But we also take that information so we can do presentations like this and warn you what to avoid. Because if you know what to avoid, you won't fall victim to it. So it's critical that you report scams to us so that we know what to warn you about. So some common risk factors, especially for seniors. Financial instability or feeling that need to catch up. Feeling isolated or lonely, which only got worse during the pandemic. and not knowing about scams or fraud tactics. So we talk about how seniors are major risk for scams, but you are not the most likely age group to lose money to a scam. In fact, seniors are the least likely age group to lose money to a scam. When it comes to the number of scams reported where you lost money, seniors lose the least. It's actually 35 to 44 and young people. And this group ticked up. This used to be lower until this last year. But when it comes to the amount of dollars lost, that's where seniors take the lead. Dollar amount lost on average goes up with age. And I always I do a presentation in schools and I talk to teenagers and I tell them that tends to make sense. If somebody asks you for $5,000, you probably find a way to come up with it. Mortgage the house if you have to, investments, friends, family. You might be able to pull that together. Much easier than a 16-year-old would, right? Ask a 16-year-old for 20 bucks and see if you get anything, right? Seniors have a little more access to money, which means when it comes to dollar amount lost, that's who the scammers want. You've got the money, that's where I'm going to go get it. So, while you're not the most likely to lose it, you are losing the most. So prevention is key. Telling your family and friends, sharing the information that we give you today. Because we know those who can spot the warning signs are most likely to walk away. So we're going to talk now about what those red flags are, the commonalities between these scams. Phantom riches, dangling the prospect of wealth or something you want but can't have. So, one example, life-changing lottery prizes. So I always ask people, when they ask me, is this a legitimate lottery? I got this offer. Did I really win? Well, did you buy a ticket? Think about what happens when you buy a lottery ticket. You put it in your wallet, hang it up on the fridge, right? If you don't have a ticket, you didn't win a lottery. That's just, it's basic that way, right? But it's not. I talked to a woman not too long ago. She called me to talk to her parents because they thought they had won $500,000 in a lottery prize. And they were convinced. The thing was, they had to pay $5,000 in taxes to get it. You should never pay to collect a lottery prize. If you win the Michigan lottery, they will take taxes out, and then you settle up with Uncle Sam in April with the difference. That's how it works. You should never pay to collect a prize. It took me 20 minutes on the phone with this couple to finally convince them that it was a scam. And the reason was, until I said it to them, they didn't really click. They were being asked to put $5,000 cash into a magazine and mail it to Idaho. Who has ever paid taxes by slipping cash into a magazine and mail it to Idaho? We laugh and it seems ridiculous, but I've talked to far too many scam victims who get money on the brain. You start dreaming about all the ways your life is going to change, your family's life is going to change. I talked to a woman years ago who thought she had won $45 million in a lottery. She had to pay taxes and fees, and she kept paying, and she kept paying, and she kept paying. By the time she reached me, she was $35,000 in the hole. And she kept going. Even after I told her it was a scam, she kept giving because she felt like she had no choice. She was too deep in. She couldn't afford for it not to be real. As hard as it is, losing $2,000 is better than $20,000. Losing $20,000 is better than $120,000. When you're caught up in these scams, cutting your losses and realizing it's gone. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's so crucial. When it comes to these phantom riches, that's really what they dangle, the idea that your life is going to change, and it really hits seniors the hardest. Source credibility, pretending to have authority, experience, or education to build credibility. We see this a lot with investments and investment fraud. Somebody comes to you and they got all those letters and abbreviations after their name that nobody knows what they really are, right? Next slide. There we go. One scam that actually came into our office. It was a lottery prize, but it included letters from the Better Business Bureau, Bank of America, and the Federal Trade Commission. Source credibility. Look, of course it's real. The Better Business Bureau is telling you it's real. We don't do that. We will never tell you that a lottery prize is real. We're not involved in that. Next one. Social consensus. Everybody wants it. It must be good. We hear that a lot, again, with investment fraud. But every time I think of this, I think about my mom. If everybody jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Right? Every time I think, but it is so common, this social consensus to convince you that something is legitimate. Next slide. Reviews are a form of social consensus. When you're looking at something, you can't just believe that something is 5 stars because you read it online. Not every review platform verifies that the person leaving the review was actually a customer there. It could be the business just typing all these great stuff about itself. You can't just believe the reviews. That is a form of social consensus. They can be faked, and in many cases they are faked. One thing about the Better Business Bureau, our reviews on our website, we actually verify the person was a customer of that business. Now, I can't verify that they had the same interaction and they're being honest about the review itself, but I can verify that they were actually a customer at that business. And that's what we work to do at the Better Business Bureau. So this was a scam that actually came into us. Somebody reached out, a friend contacted them on Facebook. And this was the interaction. And real briefly, did you know that Human Health Service is giving out a sum of money to people young and old to help them with their standard of living? No, I didn't know that. Well, I got money, right? So social consensus. I got this money. You can too, right? Go to the next one here. The person was skeptical, but they said, all right, I'll try if you send me the info. Here's the guy you got to contact on Facebook. Just click on it. He'll see if you qualify for this grant. Next one. So she reached out, said, yeah, you did qualify. Congratulations. You're in our beneficiaries list. And they keep saying, just follow the directions, follow the directions. Next one. Here's what they want. You pay $1,000, you get $500,000. $1,500, pay $600,000. This was a friend on Facebook, allegedly. Turns out they were hacked. I will warn you, because we see this a lot with seniors. Anytime a friend sends you a message on Facebook and says that they got money, and here's how you can too, it's a scam. Think about your own life and your friends. If your friend got a bunch of money and knows of a way that you can get a bunch of money too, they're not going to send it to you on Facebook. They're going to call you and talk to you about it. You're going to meet them at the restaurant for lunch one day or over cards on Friday night. You're going to have those conversations in a natural environment. If your friend doesn't typically send you that kind of stuff on Facebook, which they probably don't, that's going to be a scam. A lot of times we're finding these people are having their accounts hacked, and that's how it's happening more and more. So click through these, you keep coming here. Some of the signs. All right, that's good right there. Phantom riches, I'm getting a bunch of money. Social consensus, I got it, you can too. Source credibility, here's this government investment advisor who's going to tell you it's real. They're using 3 of the red flags right there to convince you this is legitimate. Luckily, this person, as soon as they saw this, said, I'm out. I'm not doing it, I'm out. Reciprocity, doing a small favor in return for a big favor. Was the pitch preceded by a free meal or a gift? We see this a lot of investments. Now, this is a legitimate form of marketing in a lot of ways. But what I want to warn you about is that there's a catch. So you may find something like this in the mail, a free real estate seminar. You'll get a free iPad. There was a big investigation by 2020 years ago, people offering free airline tickets to anywhere in the world if you sit through this event. So 2020 sat through the event and still, after following every single step, couldn't get the airline tickets. And they followed the whole step. So just realize this, when they offer you something free, there's a reason. It's harder for you to say no if they give you something. We're West Michigan nice, right? We want to be polite, we want to be helpful. If somebody does a favor for us, we want to return the favor. And they take advantage of that, especially in romance scams and things like that. They prey on our generosity. The world is different than what it should be, and it's different than the way it used to be. And unfortunately, that means we have to have our guard up. Scarcity. If something is rare or scarce, it must be more valuable. I think this is where all the toilet paper went a couple years ago. But you have to act now. Time is running out. There's not a lot of this left. You got to get it. There's a video here that'll show this one.
I have to tell you that I have never seen anything that we have ever offered here on the Smart Shopping Network that is getting the response we are getting tonight for the Miracle Shim. Look at that. Isn't that attractive? Now, look at this chair here. A little tipsy, isn't it? You probably have one like it. But you just slip one of these little beauties right under that chair or table leg that's not quite touching the floor as well as the others, and voila, problem is solved. These are the same shims used in the White House, Buckingham Palace. The Taj Mahal has lots of them. You know, Princess Diana, it is said, would not sit at a table until it had been specially leveled with Miracle shims. She had a guy with her, went with her all the time. He had a bag full of shims. True story. You cannot find Miracle shim in the stores. You just can't. They're not available in stores. They're not available from anywhere but right here, right now, from me. And they're not going to be here long either, believe me. I'm told the hickory now is really selling like hotcakes. So let's take a look at the counter and, whoa, my goodness, over 12,000 sold just since I've been on the air. These sets sold out completely last time we had them on the air, so I'm not surprised by that. We have got Bernie from Normal, Illinois on the line. How are you, my friend?
Hi. I just called to say that I love my Miracle shims.
Do you now?
I just bought 3 more of them tonight.
Whew, 3 of them?
Yeah, and my neighbor's trying to get through to you right now to buy some.
Well, you better hurry, because I'm told the cedar just sold out.
I bought one for my wife. Our anniversary's coming up.
Well, your wife has herself one thoughtful husband.
Yeah, well, you know, it sure beats buying a new dining room set.
Well, thank you, Bernie. And, you know, he raises a very good point, folks. New dining room set, several $100s. For only 5 easy payments of $9.98, as the kids say, that's a no-brainer. But I'm being told now the Miracle shims are all sold out. They are all gone, except, you know, for this one here, under the chair. Oh, wait a minute, I just thought of another one we've got right under.
So, that's funny, and you can see the commonalities between Home Shopping Network and some of the marketing techniques they use and what scammers will do. They've been around forever, but scammers take full advantage of those things when they talk to you. And we'll talk about some of those scams, and we'll show a little bit about that here coming up. So one of the other things, especially in that, the ticking clock. Time is running out. You have to act now. Sometimes it is a literal ticking clock. You go to a shopping website, and this sale is only good for this amount of time. They want you to act without doing some research. Because if you step back and do some research on them, you're going to find lots of people have ordered it and never got it. Sometimes we hear stories, and there have been cases where the scammer will call you and say, I've kidnapped a member of your family, and if you don't go to the bank right now, I'm going to kill them. Stay on the phone. This happened in Battle Creek in Charlotte just a year ago. And it is a ticking clock. If you don't stop what you're doing and go do this now, I'm going to kill your family member. And that ticking clock is what they count on, you being afraid, you not having time to think about it and react appropriately. It is not life or death. Scammers are not kidnapping your children and doing this. Police are not coming to your house if you don't pay this person on the phone right now. It is almost never life and death. The grandparent scam. Hi, Grandma, I'm in a Mexican prison. I need you to pay my bail. Yeah. Probably not, right? And if it is true, there's always a way to talk to somebody later on. I've never been in a Mexican prison, so I don't know how the process works. But I guarantee you, hanging up doesn't mean that the whole process is over. That's not how it would legitimately work. But fear works in their favor, and scammers will play on that. They will try to get you scared, because being scared takes away the rational side of your brain. So, preventing financial fraud, we'll go to the next one here. Say no. Again, we're West Michigan nice. We don't always want to say no. We want to be helpful, but you have to. You have to be willing to say no. You can register your number with the Do Not Call list, phone number and website there, to try to prevent some of the scam phone calls that come in. I will warn you, that list is only as good as the people who are willing to follow the law. The scammers in Nigeria and wherever they are don't care if they're breaking the law. They're already breaking the law by scamming you. Why do they care about the little extra that they get for violating the Do Not Call list? But it will cut back on the unwanted calls a little bit. Never rush to a decision. You should never have to say yes right then and there on the phone. Next one. Never send cash in the mail. Now, it's a little different if you want to put a couple bucks in a birthday card and send it to your grandkids. That's one thing. But you should never have to pay somebody by sending cash in the mail. Gift cards should match the company you're buying something from. If you want to buy something from Amazon and you have an Amazon gift card, that's fine. But you should never, ever, ever be told, go to the store, buy a gift card, scratch off the numbers on the back, and give those to me. That is never a legitimate operation. And that's how scammers are getting money usually from people. They're asking you to go to the store, buy gift cards, scratch off that information, and either send them a photo or read the numbers off. They're going to drain that card and disappear, and the money you spent is gone. It is never a legitimate thing when they tell you to go buy gift cards to pay them. Amazon takes a number of options to pay people. You can pay them with a credit card, you can pay them with a gift card. There's other ways to pay. You don't have to use a gift card. And then whenever possible, use a credit card. It is not the Dave Ramsey way. I will warn you that. Don't use a credit card is what he'll say. But credit cards give you an additional protection because you can dispute the charges. If you end up being scammed, if you end up being charged something you weren't allowed, you didn't authorize, you can dispute the charges and get that money back. If you send it on a gift card, if you send cash, that money is gone. If you wire it through Western Union, the money is gone. A lot of the apps on phones nowadays, if you use them to pay somebody, it's gone. It's not coming back. So credit cards do give you some additional protection there. Next one. I say follow the Girl Scout cookie rule. It's my Girl Scout cookie rule. If a young girl comes up to my door, my answer is, do you have any Thin Mints? You can tell, I like my Thin Mints. I shouldn't, but I do. Anybody else comes to my door, leave your name and number, I'll look into it. I have a rule. I never buy anything at the door. If you come to my door, unless you're a Girl Scout, if you come to my door with an offer, I will gather information about what you're selling, I will do some research, and I will call you back if I want to buy it. It's the same rule I have on the phone. If you call me with an offer for anything, I will gather information, I will do some research, and then I will call you back and buy from you if it's something I want. That is the safest way. That gives you the time. They can't scare you with a ticking clock. They can't scare you with the other tricks that we talked about because you have automatically decided, I'm taking my time. That offer will still be there in 10 minutes. You don't have to take 3 days to research something. You know, go to bbb.org, do a Google search, and the best advice, talk to somebody you trust. Having somebody, a family member, a friend, that you really trust to bounce ideas off of is the best way to stay safe. Because while you might feel stupid if they look at you and go, oh, that's clearly a scam, you're gonna feel a whole lot worse if you lose 10 grand to it. When we talk about people at the door, people coming to the door, because we do see this especially in warmer months, ask for an ID. If they can't produce an ID, bye. That ID should match the organization they say they're from. If they come to you and say, I'm from Consumers Energy, it better say Consumers Energy on that ID. If not, they're not with Consumers Energy. Never sign anything on the spot. One thing we see, especially with these alternative energy suppliers, they come up and say, you might be being overcharged. Let me see your bill and we'll make sure you're not being overcharged. I'm with the energy company. And then you say, no, I'm not, I'm fine, I don't want to. So then they give you the sob story. All right, I understand, I get it. My boss really needs to just make sure I'm doing my job here. Could you just sign this to show my boss that I came here? Doesn't mean, just means I showed up. We've seen people actually sign contracts to change their energy supplier to another company, thinking they were just verifying that this kid showed up at their house. I don't care what you say it is, I'm not signing it at my door. And never sign anything you haven't read completely. And that's gonna take you some time usually, so you're better off just not signing anything. So, this is data that just came out this week. Riskiest scams by age group. The riskiest scam of 2021 were online purchase scams across all age groups. People buying things online without researching it. It used to be people would do a Google search for whatever they wanted and they'd click on the wrong link and that's how they get scammed. What we're finding now is the people who lose money to online purchase scams are scrolling through their Facebook feed and see an advertisement for something they like. And they click buy without researching what that company is. And then they're surprised when the product never shows up. That offer's still gonna be there. Take a minute to research it. If you're working with a business you've never heard of, a web page or a company you've never heard from, do some research. And if you still don't learn much about them, take that item you wanna buy and find it someplace you've already gone to. See if Meijer has it. See if Amazon has it. Go to a place you know has a track record of delivering for you. It might cost a couple dollars more, but that's peace of mind, knowing you're actually going to get it. For seniors, cryptocurrency scams and travel vacation timeshare scams. Cryptocurrency scams, especially as investment scams. It's kind of the hot thing. Everybody's kind of curious. Nobody really knows everything about crypto, but it's, you look at people that say, oh, I just made so much money. The biggest scam we see a lot of times when it comes to cryptocurrency are guaranteed returns. If you put $500 down, in 1 week you'll get a 280% return on your investment. Nobody can guarantee that. The one thing in the news that everybody talks about with cryptocurrency, it's up and down and up and down. One day it's up 300 points, the next day it's down 400. You can't guarantee it's going to go up enough where they can return 280% to you in a week. There's no way to do that. It's not reasonable. And that's why, in a lot of cases, it goes back to the old saying, you've said it, my parents told it to me, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? And that really holds true in a lot of these scams. Some popular scams to go over here. Online shopping scams, as I said. I saw it on Facebook as a common thread in a lot of the online purchase scams. Shop at places you trust, beware deals that are too good to be true. Check out the website at bbb.org. Do a Google search, talk to your friends, and double check shipping times and locations. Make sure you know when that product is actually going to get to you. We live in a world where we're used to 2-day shipping. But if it's coming from China, it is not going to be here in 2 days. Pet scams. Of all the online shopping scams we see, pet scams are among the most effective. The majority of the websites selling pets are fake. They draw you in with adorable photos, get you hooked on the idea, and it's an emotional scam. So you start to ignore the signs and those voices in your head when they start asking for more and more money, because they will. You'll pay for it, then they'll tell you you need to pay a little more money for this, then a little more money for this, then a little more money from this. People I talk to are usually more upset they didn't get the dog than they are the $1,500 they lost. It's an emotional scam. So a rule of thumb, if you can't hold the dog, pet the dog, see the dog in person, don't buy the dog. Find a local shelter, a local breeder, someplace where you can physically go see the animal. Legitimate breeders want to interview you as much as you want to see the dog. Romance scams. These disproportionately affect people 55 plus. Another emotional scam, among the highest dollar amounts you saw at the start. Some real signs that this is a scam. They can't meet in person. There's always an excuse why they can't meet in person. They very quickly get to I love you. You met them online, and within 3 days, I love you, you're the one, I can never live without you. You know, you've talked for 3 days, probably haven't quite got to that point yet. They ask for money, favors, they want to use your bank account, forward packages, and it usually starts small. One person I talked to said it started with the person was overseas, and you know, could you send me $100 so I could reload this phone card so we could keep talking? And then it's, I've got some vacation time, can you buy me a plane ticket so I can come see you? Oh wait, something happened, I can't come. They just pocketed the money for the plane ticket. There's always wanting more money. They want to use your bank account to shift funds through, or they want you to accept packages and then forward them on. Those packages are bought with stolen credit cards. You are becoming part of the scam if you let them do that. And we see it a lot. They're called money mules. There's a name for it. A money mule is what you become in those cases. Investment in cryptocurrency scams, we talked a little bit about. Promises of amazing returns, risk-free, no risk. No investment is risk-free. There is always risk in investments. Pressured to act now. The best advice taught to a licensed professional. FINRA has some amazing options, and I'll show you a little bit there on how to find a licensed professional and understand what those licenses are. Next one. Employment scams, secret shopper, quality control, reshipping jobs. The main thing here is a real little bit of work for a pretty good salary. Sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Does the pay match the work done? Never forward money or packages, especially overseas. And don't cash checks for more money than you're owed. Check scams really do hit people. They'll tell you, keep this much and then use this to pay the car wrapping company or this other company. Any money you send off, you're going to have to repay the bank. I talked to a woman a few years ago who cashed 3 checks before the first one came back as fake. She called me in tears because the bank was requiring her to repay $30,000. Don't cash checks for more money than you're owed. That's just the safest way. So, some resources, and again, a lot of these are on your handout as well. bbb.org/avoid scams has more about other scams that are out there. FINRA Securities Helpline phone number. If you're wondering about an investor or an investment advisor, are they licensed? What does this license mean? You can call that number. the folks at FINRA will help you walk through that. You can do that on their website as well at finra.org. They have a lot of tools on there where you can look up investment advisors, figure out what type of advisor is best for you, and what those letters mean at the end there. And then our scam tracker, bbb.org/scam tracker, helps track scams. Next one. Again, here's our contact information that's on the handout as well. Phone number, email address. We're happy to help out. I gave Karen my cards as well, so if you wanted to reach out directly to me, you can too. And then the last one here, I think, is questions. Oh, no, a little bit about our educational foundation. So our educational foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our goal is to educate the public on issues affecting trust in the marketplace, and we work as part of the Better Business Bureau to do that, the educational arm of the Better Business Bureau. So we do these presentations free of charge to groups all across West Michigan, but as a nonprofit, we love any support that people want to send our way. So thank you to anybody who does choose to give at some point. And now I think we're at questions. Yep. Before you buy, invest, or give, check. Do your homework. Be an informed consumer is the best advice. So I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
Also, Troy,
Yes.
since we don't have a mic, if you would repeat the question.
Absolutely.
before you answer. Thank you.
I'm always getting calls about winning a free hotel room for a weekend. How do they get my telephone number?
Yeah.
And what's that scam all about?
Yeah, so calls about a free hotel room for the weekend. So how do they get your number? They get it in a number of ways. Most anything you have signed up for over the years is compiled into databases that are sold to marketing companies and in many cases scammers as well. They'll buy mailing lists just like a lot of marketing companies do. So yeah, the idea that your phone number is somehow private, if you put it on any piece of paper anytime at all, it's not. So that's how they get your number. What the scam is about, my guess is that that's probably a timeshare company. And they're gonna give you a free hotel room in Fort Lauderdale for a weekend, but they want you to sit down and, sit down for 3 hours and go through their timeshare pitch and in their hope, buy a timeshare.
I always press on the discontinue phone call.
Yeah, so that does help. There are usually, for legitimate companies, there are opt-outs. If you want to opt out of our call list, when you're talking to somebody, say, please put me on your do not call list. And they're supposed to honor that. Now, usually there's a lag. There's some time for it to take to get into the system. But if they're a legitimate company, they're supposed to honor that. The problem with scam calls is the way scammers do phone calls are a little different. They call your number, and if you answer, they mark it as a good phone number. So they're going to keep calling because there's somebody on the other end. So the best bet is to not answer phone numbers you don't recognize, because eventually they will mark that as that one didn't work for me. And they share that with their friends. If you answer and you fall victim to it, they mark that a special way, and they put you on what is known as the suckers list. That's what they call it. They call it the suckers list. And they share that with all their friends. If you fell for this scam, you might fall for this one too. I'm going to keep sending them to you. So the best bet is to just not answer if you don't recognize the number. Yes, sir, in the back.
If I get a phone call and even if it's a recording, you can press this number to opt out. Does that cost you money if I press that number?
It won't typically cost you money, but depending on who it is, if it's a scammer, you've just acknowledged that there's somebody on the other end of that phone, just like when you picked it up. So they say, okay, yep, that's a phone number that somebody's answering. If it's a legitimate company, that should add you to their opt-out list. And it's hard to tell sometimes. So if it's one of those automated voicemail voice companies, that say this is Social Security Administration, don't hit any of the buttons, right? That's not how that works. But if it sounds like it could be a legitimate marketing company or a legitimate company reaching out to you, then that's where that opt-out will actually have a difference. You may have heard the story the news did the other day about the guy who made like $75,000 in a year suing the telemarketing companies. Those are great if they're legitimate companies who care about violating the law and are willing to settle for you because they messed up. The scammers are never going to pay you. They don't care. They don't care that they're breaking telephone law. They're breaking all sorts of laws.
Follow up on that. Is there any way that by pressing a number that will draw or add to your phone bill?
Probably not. We have seen some cases where there have been charges added to people's cell phone bills and phone bills for add-ons that they have signed up for, right? That they didn't actually sign up for. And that's why it's important for you to keep an eye on your bills and your credit card statements and just make sure things haven't been added there. It would be hard, I think it would be hard for a phone company to sustain that if, it's easy to get, for that company, the scammer to get caught, because if they're doing it to you, they're doing it to a bunch of people, the phone company is going to catch on pretty quick and start disallowing it. Yes, sir.
Some scams get through on our email.
Yes.
And I must say, I've been to school and college and stuff. Some of it is amazingly real looking.
It is.
They're mimicking an actual organization or whatnot.
Yes. And they have got, the emails they're called phishing with a PH. And they are really sending you emails that you would expect to get, hoping that you click on their links. So one trick, whenever you get an email and you're not sure, if it's got a link in it, take your cursor and just put it over top of where that link goes. Don't click on it, just put it over top of the link. Down the bottom corner of your browser, it will show you what website that link's gonna take you to. So if you get an email from Fifth Third Bank, and it says, here's a link to Fifth Third Bank, if you hover your cursor over that, and it shows you a link that doesn't go to 53.com, that's not a real link. That's not a real one. So if you are looking at those, and you can do it on a website, on an email, anytime you see a link, you just click on, you just hover your cursor over before you click on it.
But don't click.
But don't click. And the other advice I have is anytime I get those, I actually got, a couple minutes, so I'll tell the story. I got an email a couple weeks ago from Walmart saying that a grocery order would be ready that afternoon on my Walmart.com account. I don't order groceries on Walmart.com. So instead of clicking on the link, which is what scammers would want you to do, I went to Walmart.com and I logged into my account, the account I haven't used in years. And I found somebody had gained access to it. They had compromised that account. They had put a $200 gift card on that account. Now, it was a gift card that was probably stolen from a victim in a scam. And they bought $200 worth of groceries to be picked up at a store in Texas. My first inclination was to change the order. Imagine this person's surprised. They're thinking they're getting $200 worth of groceries, and they wheel out 29 gallons of milk, right? You know, that's my first inclination. But in the end, I ended up canceling the order because, as I said, whenever it comes to gift cards, once you send that information off, it's gone. You're not getting it back. The only hope that that person that lost it had was that they used the card before the scammer. And if I cancel the order, maybe I gave them enough time to figure it out and use it. Probably not. But the key part, and the reason I tell that story is when I got that email and I wasn't sure, it really was an email from Walmart, but I wasn't sure because I know I didn't order anything. So I went to Walmart.com and logged in a way that I knew was legitimate. If I get a phone call from Fifth Third Bank, I'm not going to talk to them on the phone. I'm pulling out my debit card and calling the phone number on the back of my debit card because I know that phone number goes to Fifth Third Bank. Whenever you have any doubts at all, don't use the information in the email they give you or in the phone call they give you. Take a step back and contact the organization using the method you know goes to the real person. It's that added layer of protection. But they are very good at the emails. It is very hard. In fact, most organizations now are sending test emails. We at the Better Business Bureau get tested all the time with emails that are fake, that look real, to see if we will click on them. Luckily, I haven't clicked on any yet, so. But they do try.
I don't have a question, but I do have to tell you, the funniest scam one I ever got was, and I answer them because I don't know if it's somebody's cell phone that really wants to call me. I answered the phone, and this guy starts in, and I hung up. And it rang again, so I answered again, and this female voice said, "Why did you hang up on my husband?" I said, "Because he was scamming me." I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Why did you hang up on my husband?
And it's hard. It's hard in a lot of ways, but I've got 2 teenagers. If they want to get a hold of me, they're going to send me a text message. I've got voicemail on my phone. If somebody really needs to get a hold of me, they'll leave me a voicemail, and I can call them back. It's not a bad thing anymore. It used to be, screening your phone calls seemed rude, right? Remember back when everybody started getting answering machines, and it was kind of rude to screen your phone calls? It's not rude anymore. Yes, ma'am.
So you said that, anytime we sign up for something and put our phone number out there, we might get added to more lists. So it's a common practice at normal stores in person to, as you're checking out, ask for your phone number. West Michigan Nice, I always say, "No, thank you."
Yep.
And it even for me, I'm like, it feels impolite, but no, thank you. I don't want to give you my phone number. I don't even want that store. I don't find it necessary for them, but what's that practice?
Yeah, so most of those are stores that want to add you to their list. They want to be able to send you coupons. They want to send you offers. They want to send you marketing materials so you come back to their store. The difference is some of them will sell those lists to other groups. And now that gets added to the whole pile out there. And that's why I'm the same way. I don't need to give you my email address. I don't need to give you my phone number for the toaster I'm buying. There's a comedian who says, "I'm buying the toaster, I'm not adopting it." Yes. The transaction is done when I leave. You don't need my contact information.
It always seems like such a weird question.
Yes.
And they just ask it so politely right there. No, thank you.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Same with the social security number. You don't have to give that out.
No, and you shouldn't. Not even, they'll try to justify and say, okay, well, maybe just the last 4. Well, think of all the times you use the last 4 digits of your social security number to identify you, with your banks and other financial institutions. Don't give that out. And a lot of credit checks that are out there and available will give a person part of your social security number anyway, but they black out the last 4. So if you give them the last 4, you might be completing the puzzle for them. So in fact, I talked to a guy in the Kalamazoo area who got the automated computer voice message. There's been fraudulent activity on your social security number. We need you to call and verify your number. If you don't, a warrant will be issued for your arrest. He lost, it was an automated message. It was a robot voice. He lost $14,000 to that. You saw the $50 billion impact. Scammers look at this like a business, and like any other business. If it's not making money, they'll move on to something else. So if you see the scam, as ridiculous as it might seem, it's making money. There's people falling for it. And that's why it's so crucial that not only do you know what it is, but you share that information with others. You have those conversations, and you're not afraid to be honest with your friends or your family and say, look, that seems like a scam. You probably don't want to do that.
One last
Yes,
question
ma'am.
then, thank you.
Yeah, when I call in, like to check on something on my Capital One card or something, so then they just go by the last 4 digits of the account number, and then sometimes to verify that it's really me, they'll ask for the last 4 digits of my social.
Yes.
But that's okay, right? Because that's them and I'm calling their number.
If you're calling their number and you know who you're dealing with, and that's why I say, I pull out my debit card and I call the phone number on the back, because I know that phone number goes to Fifth Third Bank. Another real quick example of why it's so important to make sure you're dealing with the right place. We're getting a lot of calls and complaints right now against Booking.com. Not because Booking.com has done anything wrong, but because people have booked vacations, need to make a change, and they just do a Google search for Booking.com customer service phone number and click the first link that comes up, and it goes to somebody else and not Booking.com. They get charged $300 to change their order. They get asked to go buy a gift card to get the refund. And when they get scammed, they call us and are mad at Booking.com. Booking.com didn't do anything. You didn't even talk to them. You talked to a scammer that you found on Google. So it's so critical that you don't just take that first thing that comes